What if I told you that life isn't some profound mystery we're supposed to solve, but actually a game that we're meant to play? Today, we're diving into a book with that exact bold premise. It's called Life by Levent Karahan, and it's a philosophical ride that might just flip how you see everything. So, let's get into it.
You know, the author kicks things off with this classic line from Socrates, and it's the perfect way to start. This book isn't about pretending to have all the answers. Nope. It's about leaning into that curiosity and admitting that when you're talking about the biggest questions out there, a little bit of humility is probably the best place to start.
So, where do you even begin a journey like this? Well, the book starts exactly where you'd probably expect, with those huge, fundamental questions that have been bouncing around in our heads for, well, forever.
It starts with the most personal one of all, right? Who am I? This is the bedrock of everything. It's the first step you take on any path to understanding yourself and your place in the universe.
And from there, we look back. Where did I come from? What incredible chain of events, cosmic, biological, personal, had to happen for you to be listening to this right now?
And finally, the big question about the future. But here's the twist. The author's pretty upfront that he doesn't have concrete answers, and he suggests that maybe, just maybe, nobody really does. So instead of trying to answer these questions head-on, he proposes a completely different framework for even looking at them in the first place. And this is where things get really interesting. The book's central idea is that our reality, it isn't what it appears to be. It's kind of like a shared dream, way more connected and way less solid than we think it is.
Karahan's theory introduces this concept of a super being, or a single super awareness. The idea is pretty wild. What if we aren't really separate individuals? What if we're all just tiny fragments of one single consciousness that has chosen to experience separation for a while?
This really gets to the heart of it. If we're all part of one big consciousness, then our individual lives are like these incredibly realistic, vivid dreams. And think about it. What makes a dream truly amazing? It's when it feels so real that you only realize it was a dream after you wake up. This is the perfect metaphor for the whole book. Think of life as the ultimate virtual reality game. The super being plugs fragments of itself, that's us, into these bodies to have an experience. But here's the kicker. To make the game a real thrill, a true adventure, your memories of your true nature are wiped clean the moment you're born.
Okay, so if life is this epic cosmic game, where does a concept like God fit in? The book tackles this, but not as a religious question. It's more of a functional one. Within this game, what role could a God possibly play? The author basically lays out a spectrum of possibilities. Is God the all-powerful game developer pulling all the strings? Or maybe more like a guide with limited power who can't interfere with our free will? Perhaps God is just a silent watcher. Or maybe it's a concept we humans made up to explain the unexplainable. The book suggests it could even be a little bit of all of these things.
All right, so this leads us to the biggest question of all, right? If life is a game, an experience, what's the point? Why are we even playing? What's the objective here?
And the answer in the book is just beautifully simple and pragmatic. It's like, look, we've been dropped into this game without an instruction manual. So, in the absence of any other clear rules, what's the most logical goal? The author argues it's happiness. That's the most fulfilling thing we can aim for.
So here's the key takeaway. The meaning of life is the act of living it. I love the analogy the book uses of a child playing football. The kid isn't playing to become a pro or to impress their parents. They're playing for the pure joy of it, the feeling of running, the thrill of kicking the ball. They're playing for the experience itself. And the author says that's us. We're here simply because we enjoy the experience. The book even offers a simple 3-step guide for how to play this game of life well. First, you think. Really take some time to figure out what would genuinely make you happy. Second, you act. As long as it doesn't hurt anyone else, go for it. And third, you analyze. Look back at your choices. Are they actually bringing you closer to that happiness? If not, it's okay. You just get up and try again like a toddler learning to walk.
So how does this personal philosophy scale up? I mean, we're not playing this game solo, are we? It's a massive multiplayer world out there. The book shifts from the individual to the collective and asks, how could this mindset actually change the world we all share?
Now, the author makes a pretty radical claim here. He argues that meaningful, rapid change in the world doesn't come from the masses. He says it's actually in the hands of a tiny, incredibly powerful minority, the wealthiest 0.01%.
This table really breaks down the argument. He frames our society like a formula. The current version, he says, has led to some pretty catastrophic results, but his proposed new formula doesn't try to tear down the whole system. Instead, it suggests that if we want a different outcome for our collective game, the most powerful things we can change are our shared morals and our capacity for empathy.
So, the book's call to action is essentially a revolution of mindset. If we're all just fragments of one super being, then harming others is quite literally harming ourselves. The goal is to convince this 0.01% to use their immense influence not just for profit, but to actively promote a global culture of empathy, making the game better for every single player.
And that brings us right to the end, with a question that turns this whole cosmic idea back on you. If you accept this premise, even just for a moment, that life is a game you chose to play just for the experience, then all the power is in your hands. You're holding the controller. So the only question left is, how will you choose to play?